Welcome back. Now, I find it fascinating that the American government is at the forefront of trying to negotiate or to intervene for a peaceful solution and to avert the disaster that many people are seeing is coming to Kenya. The reason why I find it interesting is because the American government was very heavily involved in the activities of 1969. Very heavily involved. Okay, and there's plenty of evidence which conclusively confirms this. Yeah, for instance, recently released CIA classified documents, which are available online. The long and short of it is that at that time we were bang in the middle of the vicious Cold War, Russia versus America, yeah, East versus West, and the Americans wanted to make sure that they eliminate all communist influence in Kenya. And of course, the frontman for the Russians at that time was one Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, father to Raila. And so important was this priority for the Americans that they were ready to sacrifice one of their own, somebody that they had groomed for many years to protect American interests in Kenya. Of course, I'm talking about Tom Mboya. Okay? Now, if you catch my series, Mboya, it was more than an assassination. You will be able to get all the inside information and politics around these issues. It is still extremely sensitive, and of course, it's only available to Club 1999 members. Anyway, all those events had one objective, and that was to secure the Jomo Kenyatta presidency, to eliminate all threats, yeah, current and future, to the presidency of Jomo Kenyatta. One of the communities that was a real threat to the presidency of Jomo Kenyatta was, of course, the Luo community. Yeah, and the events of 1969 were designed to neutralize that community completely. Yes, one of the things we have not mentioned, but was a follow-up to that operation, was a wide and aggressive propaganda campaign designed to completely finish off the Luo community, so that they would never be in a position to attract national political support and therefore be a threat again to the presidency. All this was cemented by the oaths which were being taken at Ichaweri. Now, fascinatingly, Time magazine reported about these oaths. A reporter in Time magazine pointed out in an article that what was happening in Kenya was that some Kenyans were taking oaths against their own fellow Kenyans. That summarizes the situation perfectly. That is exactly what was going down. And that is the root and the cause and the main driving factor of the very bitter tribalism going on in Kenya and the very bitter political divide that is shaking the country now in 2017 as we speak. Fast forward to 1991, okay? We have already mentioned how the country changed from multi-party politics to single-party politics in 1969. But in 1991, people were clamoring for a return back into multi-party politics. The dictatorial regime of Jomo Kenyatta had been followed by another dictatorial regime of Daniel Arap Moi. And Kenyans were saying, enough is enough, we must go back into multi-party politics. Actually, what had happened politically is that the whole of Kenya literally had ganged up against the government of Daniel Arap Moi. Leading politicians at the time, people like Paul Mwite, had smelt blood. They had smelt victory. Yeah? And they were now even threatening the sitting president Daniel Arap Moi. Now, of course, Paul Mwite is a lawyer, and he told a delighted nation that he was already preparing charges against President Daniel Arap Moi. That as soon as they voted him out of power, they would hold him before a court of law, to face the long list of charges they had prepared against him. Fatal political mistake, okay? Because now it was very clear to Moi that if he played around and lost power in an election to the opposition, he would not only lose an election, but he'd also lose his freedom because he'd go straight to jail. Now, Jomo Kenyatta was many things, yeah, but he was also a very wise old man, full of parables and wisdom and what we call sayings of the wise. Now, in 1976, when his inner circle informed him that they wanted to change the constitution so as to ensure that Moi never took over power, in case anything happened to Jomo, and of course the inner circle knew that Jomo was dying, yeah, Jomo gave them a very interesting proverb, a Kikuyu proverb, yeah. The simple translation of that Kikuyu proverb was that if you want to catch a cow, yeah, you don't show it the rope. And it's absolutely true. If you want to catch a cow, you hide the rope until the very last minute, and then you quickly, without any warning, string it around the neck of the cow, and you've caught your cow. Yeah? But if you show it the rope too early, it might hit you with its horns. What Jomo was telling the Change the Constitution adherents was that if they wanted to fight politically against Moi, it was a fatal political mistake to show Moi exactly how they were dealing with him. They were showing him the rope. And the leading lights of the opposition politics at the time, in 1991, many years later, decades later, many of whom were from the Kikuyu community or House of Mumbi, where this proverb of Jomo Kenyatta came from, either did not know about the proverb or they just ignored it. They showed Moi the rope they were going to hang him with. Yeah? So Moi was human. What do you do when people show you the rope they're going to hang you with? Yeah? You do everything in your power. You do everything under the sun to ensure that that rope does not end up around your neck. It's as simple as that. And that is exactly how the rigging of presidential elections was born in the country called Kenya. As an incumbent, all you do, because you have all the power in your hands, you have the intelligence community, you just formulate a plan to steal the elections and remain in power. Now let us think of Kenya as a pot which has been put into the fire to boil. Okay, and this pot was put over the fire in 1969, and over the years it had been boiling and boiling and boiling, and in 1992 the presidential elections were rigged. The voters were obviously angry, yeah, pot still boiling. In 1997 the elections were rigged again, very angry voters, pot still boiling. Now in 2002, Kenya had the perfect opportunity to remove this pot from the fire, and to put out the fire and to heal the country. Because the presidential elections of those of that year, pitting Mwai Kibaki against Uhuru Kenyatta, are the only free, fair, credible, verifiable presidential elections that have ever been carried out in the history of Kenya. But that golden opportunity to heal the country and to set the country in a different direction was missed. And so the stage was set for the horrible, terrible events of 2007-2008. Okay, we shall continue this in the next episode, yeah, where we'll discuss some very interesting things. See you then a bit. This is Chris Kumekucha.